Hey guys, my name's Skippy for Geek Hammer Gaming. I'm here to do another faction focus review. I've fallen a little behind getting these out on time, but we're going to catch up this week and get a lot of 40k talk in. Today we're going to talk about the Necrons, the ancient civilization of people who gave up their bodies for mechanical bodies because they were kind of losing a war to the old ones. But they were kind of tricked by the Satan, so eventually they enslaved the Satan, went to sleep for 60 million years, and are now reawakening and trying to take over the galaxy that was once theirs. Super awesome faction of robotic skeletons, and I love the way they play. I can't wait to see what they've done with one of my favorite factions in the game. So let's talk about their rules. The first thing we're going to talk about is the Reanimation Protocols. People who have played Necrons before are very familiar with this. It has been redone a few times to try to fit their lore. I'm kind of liking where they went with this. We'll see how it works out on the table. So each time at the end of your command phase, every unit gets to heal D3 wounds. The way it works is if your unit contains one or more models with fewer than the starting number of wounds remaining, select one of those models, they regain one lost wound. But you get to do this D3 times. So say like somebody has 2 wounds, or a 3 wound model, they've taken 2 wounds, you get to heal. If you rolled a 2, then you get to heal the 1 and then the 2. So you get to do them in sequence. If all models in that unit have their starting number of wounds, but that unit is not at starting strength, one destroyed model is returned to that unit with 1 wound remaining. So the idea is you heal guys up to full, your D3 per unit. But if you hit full wounds on all your models, then a model comes back with 1 wound, and then you get to heal more. Or say if you have 2 wound models with 1 missing, you get to heal 1 on that 1 dude, bring a guy back, and then heal another one on that guy you just brought back. I love the way that works, where it works with single wound models, characters, multi-wound models. Like everybody gets to heal and everybody gets to bring guys back as long as you hit your cap on your wounds on your guys. This works out a lot easier to remember. It's basically heal wounds until you hit full, bring a guy back, then heal wounds again. So everybody gets to heal D3. I love it. But obviously they put in the clause there where if you're at full strength, nothing happens. You don't get to go above your starting strength. Sorry guys, you can't generate models. All right. I'm liking how this worked out. It's a little different than before. In 9th edition, I kind of like that you got to reanimate after people shot at you so that you actually had a chance of reanimating all the time, but it really slowed the game down. All that dice rolling you had to do every time somebody shot at you. And sometimes it didn't even work. So this is guaranteed, but you have to survive to your command phase. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. If you can take 20-man squads of warriors, I think that'll be a lot better. We don't know yet, but otherwise, I think it's a good way to handle this. It's a lot simpler and it works very well. You just got to be really careful about making sure your guys live to the next command phase. That's all you got to do. Anyway, the one detachment we're going to be getting in the indexes is the Awakened Dynasty. So in the Awakened Dynasty, you get command protocols. This is super cool because command protocols, my will be done. You would literally point a unit and give them +1 to hit. Super cool. Well, command protocols is literally that again. As long as a Necron character is leading a unit, that unit gets +1 to hit. So you got a super deadly Scorpec Destroyer unit, put a Scorpec Lord in there, boom, they're hitting on 2s. Simple as that. You want a Cryptech leading your Necron warriors to help them survive more. Guess what? They're also going to get +1 to hit. I love how this works, and it is a super simple way to make sure that your guys are super effective by giving them a character upgrade. You get some sort of other upgrade with the character, and you get +1 to hit. I think this rule is great for Necrons because not only do you get your normal character buffs for whatever unit you put the character in, but you also get +1 to hit. So characters are going to be very key in Necrons as they're going to lead your army to getting your guys to be super deadly and eviscerate anybody they're looking at. So next up, we're going to look at some data sheets. Now, they've been giving us big models, and they didn't disappoint today by giving us the Monolith, which if anyone's ever seen the Monolith, that's a giant model. This is a Lord of War. This is a 20 wound gigantic tank that's like tall and gigantic. It's huge, guys. All right. I don't even know how many points it's going to be. So, Monolith is pretty simple. It's equipped with 4 Gauss Flux Arts, a Particle Whip, and Portal Exile. But you can replace the Gauss Flux Arcs with 4 Death Rays. So let's talk about the stats here. So it moves 7, so it's not super fast for a vehicle, but it's not a huge deal for it. Toughness 14, which is pretty good. 2 up save, so it's going to be hard to kill it. 20 wounds. Leadership 7 plus, which seems pretty low for a Necron, but we'll look at what the warriors are in a sec. And objective control 8. Now, this thing will plop on an objective and take it from a lot of people, and I love it. That's great. I love these big monsters have great objective control, and they're going to just take everything from people by surprise. And you're like, my infantry are not going to be able to punch up onto this tank. I don't know how I'm going to take this away other than plopping more guys on it or destroying it at range. So, range weapons, Death Ray is a single attack, but you get 4 of them. So it's 4 attacks on the thing with sustained hits D3. So every 6 to hit is D3 additional hits. Hitting on 3s, strength 12, -4, D6 plus 1. Man, that's Death Ray. That's gonna pop some people. Now, the D6 plus 1 is a little wonky, and Necrons in the last couple editions have had a lot of D6 damage weapons. So I don't know how I'm feeling about that, but we'll see. The Gauss Flux Arc, which is the other option you have, which has lethal hits and rapid fire 3, but base 3 attacks. So it's 3 attacks, 6 if you're in half range within 12. At strength 6, -1, 1 damage. So this is your anti-horde stuff. Like, this is going to clear, like, especially things like Guardsmen or Eldar that are all T3, they're just going to get blown away by this. Then you have the Particle Whip, which is 3d6 attacks, hitting on 3, strength 8, -1, 2 damage. So you get that in addition to one of the other 2 options. Great weapons. And its combat profile in combat is actually not bad. The Portal of Exile, it's 6 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 8, -2, 3 damage. That's not a bad combat profile for what's essentially a temple, floating temple vehicle. Like, super cool. So its core abilities, it's got Deadly Demise, so explosions, and Deep Strike. So you can Deep Strike this thing, by the way. Just saying. That's crazy. You just plop in out of the sky. It's got Reanimation Protocols, but it's also got the Eternity Gate, which is a special ability. In the reinforcement steps of your movement phase, you can select one Necron's infantry unit from your army that is either in reserves or on the battlefield. So either waiting to come in or already on the battlefield. If you select the latter, remove the unit from the battlefield and place it in reserve. So basically, you pick somebody in on the battlefield, pick them up. That unit is then set up anywhere on the battlefield that's wholly within 6 of this model and not within engagement range of any models. That unit cannot declare a charge this turn. There are some very shooty units in Necrons. I don't know if you know this. They've gotten some more melee support recently, but they're known for their guns. Plopping a unit within whatever range you want. Like, so you have to be within 6 of this. But there is no 9 inches away from the enemy unit. You just get to be right there. Holy hell. So you just get to plop guys right in range, you know, within like deadly, like we'll look at some of the weapons in a sec, but if you want to be within 12, you can easily do that with this thing because you have no range restrictions. You can't charge afterwards. So it's not for melee stuff, it's for shooting or setting up for a charge the next turn if you hide behind it. This is crazy. You didn't used to get a lot of deep strike within X range other than like demons and a couple other random things, but that's crazy. And then when it's hurt, it also gets -1 to hit. So big fan of the monolith. As long as it's not priced out of existence, like this thing might actually see some play. It's got some decent rules. The damage output is decent. If you make it more of an anti-horde thing with the Gauss Flux Arc and the Particle Whip, I think that'll be a lot better because the D6 plus 1 on the Death Ray is not the best, but it'll punch. It'll on average do 4 damage per hit. You'll get like 3 hits, maybe an extra D3 every other time, so that'll be interesting to see. So, super happy with the monolith. I can't wait to see if this thing actually gets to see play. So next up, we're going to look at the mainstay of the Necrons, the Necron Warriors. These guys are very interesting in this edition. So they have movement 5, which seems about right. They're supposed to be a little slower than most everyone else. T4, 4 up save, 1 wound, 7 up leadership, and objective control 2. So I'm actually surprised. The leadership on Necrons seems to be about average when they used to be like leadership 10. Leadership 7 is right in the middle, which seems weird. So I'm guessing that the characters will have crazy leadership of like 5 or something like that, and that'll be very interesting to see. So here's your basic troop choice. You get choice of two weapons. You have the Gauss Flayer or the Gauss Reaper. The Gauss Flayer is one attack at 24-inch range, but it's also lethal hits. So 6 is a hit auto wound, and it's got rapid fire 1. So you get double the shots within 12. Hits on 4, strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage. Nothing too special there. These are your sit on objective and plink at people from far away. You also get the Gauss Reaper, which is a 12-inch gun, 2 attacks. So you get the guaranteed 2 shots, but you have to be within 12 to get any shots. Hitting on 4s, strength 5, -1, 1 damage. So your warriors are hitting on 4s, but if you plop a character in with them, then they're hitting on 3s. It's as simple as that. So warriors are not a bad option for picking up with that monolith and plopping them right in somebody's face with the Gauss Reapers and just tearing apart infantry. I'm a big fan. Close combat weapon, nothing special. 4 weapon skill, they get 1 attack, hitting on 4s, strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage. So nothing super special. But their special ability is great. So their number is Legion. This is why you take the troops, and hopefully you can take them in 20-man blocks, because this will make these guys ridiculous. Each time you use reanimation protocols on this unit, it reanimates D6 wounds instead of D3. However, if you're in range of an ejector marker that you control, you get D3 plus 3 instead. So you're making that way more consistent. So you're bringing guys back by the droves. They are 1 wound, so you're just getting D6 or D3 plus 3 models back guaranteed. I love it. It's the way they should be. They are better at reanimation because they're much simpler bodies. I am a fan. Everything I talk about in these things all comes down to points, whether they're going to be good or not, but every data sheet so far has been pretty decent. Them going down to hitting on 4s and then needing a character to get back into 3s kind of sucks, but you'll notice that in some of the other faction focuses, that's a theme that's going on right now, where shooty armies are not as shooty anymore, and it'll all come down to you putting in the work to get the guns to do the job that you need. So hopefully that all works out for them. So let's take a look at a weapon profile. So this is the Doomsday Cannon on the Doomsday Arc. Fitting, right? So it's 72-inch range, so the table. D6 plus 1 attack. So there's that D6 again. That's like, rough. Hitting on 3, strength 15. Just a casual 15. -4, 4 damage. However, if you remain stationary in your movement phase, you get devastating wounds. That's 6 is to wound, do mortal wounds instead. So you're just bypassing invulns and just wrecking people. I am a big fan. I think this fits their lore. I don't know how I'm feeling about the D6 plus 1. That's, again, that shows up here again. And I'm not sure how I feel quite about it. Like, it used, in the last edition, it was D6, and it felt very bad when you're like, I rolled a 1. But if you roll 1, it's still 2. Like, I wish it was 2d3 instead of d6, but it's just one of those things. They think Necrons should have d6 attacks or d6 damage, and it feels bad on how random the weapon output is. I wish it was a little bit more consistent. Next up, we're going to look at a weapon from the Void Dragon, the big giant Satan monster from the Necron line. The Spear of the Void Dragon. This is his melee weapon, the big giant spear you see there. By the way, if the new Void Dragon is an amazing looking model. If you haven't, go check it out or look at it over there. I'm probably going to put it on the side, way on the other side of the data sheet. So, the Spear of the Void Dragon has 2 profiles. You get to pick one. You get the Strike, which is anti-vehicle 2+, which is critical, or wounds of 2+, are critical wounds against vehicles. He has 5 attacks hitting on 2, strength 12, -3, D6 plus 2 damage. There's that D6 again, but this is D6 plus 2. So you're going to get a lot of strikes in, which is great. Like, you're going to devastate some vehicles. And then the Sweep profile, which is 10 attacks hitting on 3s, strength 8, -1, 2 damage. So that's your Sweep profile. You get a lot more attacks at lower damage, but against anything that's like Marines or something, you're going to make them make a lot of saves, and I love it. Anyway, I like this guy so far. I'm a big fan of Satans, and I can't wait to see what happens with these guys in the new edition. So we're going to look at a stratagem now, Protocol of the Hungry Void. Now, in the last edition, protocols were something you picked every turn, and then your army was in it, and you got abilities based on whatever protocol you were in. So you got to pick what kind of style you were fighting in that turn. So you had to pick this in the fight phase, And then you get to pick it. One Necron unit from your army has been selected to fight this phase. So when someone goes to fight, you pick them. Until the end of the phase, add one to the strength characteristic melee weapons equipped by models in this unit. So already 1 CP plus 1 to strength. Good so far. In addition, if a Necron's character is leading the unit, until the end of the phase, improve the armor penetration characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in that unit by 1. Now, this is pretty good. Even your regular Necron warriors will all of a sudden, they normally hit on 4s, so if they got a character, they'll be hitting on 3s. They'll be at strength 5 now, which is pretty high. And then on top of that, you'll get an extra AP for having the character in there. Like, all of a sudden, your, let's say 10 attacks from the Necron warriors went from hitting on 4, string 4, AP nothing, to hitting on 3s, string 5, AP 1. That's a big upgrade for 1 CP, and that's just Necron warriors. Not even talking about like Scorpec destroyers or Ophidian destroyers or anything like that, or even like flayed ones. Like it's already a big deal for them. I love it. It's going to make you punch up a level for 1 CP, especially if you have a character in it. Very cool stratagem. I'm glad how they made that work. So that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you for coming out for my Faction Focus review. We'll be back tomorrow with another one. I want to thank you for coming out, and I'll catch you guys next time.